Good afternoon, everyone. I'm your instructor. My name is Greg Lutz, and I will be hosting your session for the afternoon. This afternoon session is all about OneNote. Out of the entire suite, I got to tell you, OneNote is my absolute favorite application to use. I have it on my phone, I have it on all my tablets, I have it on everything. And, you know, the way that I describe it, the way that people describe it, it really doesn't do it justice. In order to really get your head around this thing, you have to solidly commit to using it for at least, say, 2 weeks. And then at the end of the 2 weeks, you should get it. In fact, hopefully at the end of the 2 weeks, you can't live without it. It's available for every single device. So whether you have an Android or an Apple, it doesn't matter. Whether it's a handheld or a tablet, it literally doesn't matter. OneNote's available and free. But to describe it, it's a filing cabinet. It's a binder. It's where you put all the information you have no idea where to put. That's what OneNote's for. And it's integrated into every single Microsoft product. And even if it's not a Microsoft product, it's still integrated. In order for me to really do it justice, and in order for me to really show you what the heck this thing does, you got to see it in action. So without further ado, what I'd like to do is I'd like to take you for a tour. I want to open up OneNote. I want to open up OneNote, and I want to take you for this tour and show you some of the different things that it does. And hopefully, at the end of it all, you'll see what I see. It's an absolutely incredible tool for organizing your information. You know, you got Outlook, and Outlook organizes your time and your meetings, but unless you're using something like OneNote, you don't have anything that organizes your information, organizes the stuff that is important to you, the things that you want to remember. No different than this class, than taking this webinar. Where are you going to put all your notes for this webinar, and are you going to be able to find them next week? Are you able to find them a month from now? Can you find it 6 months from now or a year? Guys, I got notes. I can go back 5, 6 years easily, simply. Different courses, different things that I've taken myself, and be able to put my hand on the information that I need and use it right away. So let's take a look at this thing that I keep talking about. I'm just going to share out my whole screen. That way you guys can kind of see everything that I'm doing here. And that way too, you'll literally see all the steps that I'm taking to do different things. All right. This is just our website that I had up here. Let me open up OneNote. So I'm just going to go to my Start button, and I'll head to Microsoft OneNote. Now, the first time you click on this thing, it's going to bug you about signing up for an account and all this other stuff, and you can if you want. If you want to use it on multiple devices, you should consider setting it up online so that your different devices synchronize all your notes. That's the way I tend to use it, and I got to tell you, I really enjoy having all of my information on all my different devices so that I'm not having to open up my laptop or go to my tablet or go to my phone. The information's on everything. Now, this is just a sample notebook that I've set up, but your notebook pretty much looks like this. You can create different books or additional books. So this is my notebook, but I can click here and say, yeah, I want to add an additional notebook. Each notebook has different sections, and within those sections are pages. So the book is like a book. Think of the sections like file folders, and of course the pages themselves are pages of information. Now I'm going to add a notebook here, and I'm going to save it on my computer, but as you can see, you also have the option of saving it on OneDrive, and that's how it gets synchronized. You got to sign up for a Microsoft account, use OneDrive, put this on OneDrive, and it synchronizes. And the whole process is made very simple, so that if you do start out saving it just on your computer, you always have the option of moving it over to OneDrive and synchronizing the notebook. So I am going to save it on my computer here, and I'll give the notebook a name. I'll call it Train Canada Work Notes. All I got to do is click on Create Notebook, and I get a brand new, fresh notebook. One of the first things that I start to do is start to organize my different sections, my different tabs. But let me take you for a tour first. So as I mentioned, a new section is like a file folder. So I can double click on this little tab here, very much like Excel, where you have the different sheets. I can double click on this tab, give the tab a brand new name, and I can call this one OneNote Tips and Tricks. And then, again, very much like Excel, I've labeled that tab. Within the tab, there are different sheets. These sheets sit on the right-hand side, and these also can be labeled, but I don't have to label it here. This is the label. This is the title of the page. So I could put in, let's see, tips for the web. And as you can see on the right-hand side, it labels that sheet. And this is where I would put all of my different tips and tricks for OneNote, different tips for working with the internet or different sites. And select information that you want and right-click. So when you make notes, it puts it in containers. This is interesting because you can then click anywhere you want and make another note. That other note sits in a container. I can click over here and make another note. Now, if you try and make a note underneath it, right, it puts it in another container, but you can rearrange them. They're in containers. This is excellent for brainstorming. Sometimes your ideas, your thoughts are not always. This way, I can click into random places, type in my information, and then reorder the information later on, all thanks to all of your notes being in different containers. The other thing that this does is this allows you to click anywhere you want and make a note. Unlike Word, think about it. With Word, if you want to click into the center of a document and make a note, there's a few problems with that. A couple of issues, and you're going to create a couple of issues too. Word isn't really made to make notes. A piece of paper, a pencil, that's made to take notes. You can write anywhere you want on the page, any order of the page, whether it's from left to right or from right to left, upside down, it doesn't matter. You can make notes all around that page with a pencil, and that's basically what this is. I can click and make new notes wherever I want, and then rearrange the information, stack it, organize it. It's one of the most frustrating things that users speak to me about when I go through level 1 Word. A lot of times they're very confused why they can't just click somewhere and start typing. Well, with OneNote, you can. And sometimes that's exactly what you want. But it's not just all text and containers. You'll notice up top that you have different toolbars. Home, Insert, Draw, History, Review, View. On the Home tab, it's all the stuff that you use all the time. Cut, copy, and paste. I can change my font, change the size of my font, and I've got things like bullets and numbering that I can use. I've got a highlighter that works quite well. but I'm sure that you've seen quite a few of these different tools inside Word or Excel or other programs. Your styles are also found within Word. They're also found within Excel, but you use them less in Excel. And then you have all these different tags. If I click the little More button that's here, these are all my different tags. This is how you organize yourself. If it's a question, if it's something to do, if it's something for a certain project, if you want to discuss something with a certain person, but I can say, yeah, this is something that I got to do. I can head to home and click on to do. And I can add more than one tag. I can say that this is very important. Here I can click onto this node. I can click back on the home, head right back to the tags, and say that this is information that I've got to send in an email. I got to email that out, and it's important. I can click here, make new notes, and same thing. I can go to home and say it's a question. Make a new note. I can click on home, and I can mark this one as a book I want to read. I'll make this a to-do as well. I'll then make this one a to-do. As you can see, all I'm doing is I'm just tagging my information. And the reason that I do this is because eventually I'm going to have a lot of different sections, a lot of different pages. And in those sections, in those different pages, the information is going to get lost. So in order for me to find that number, find that book that I want to read, find that important information, I click on Find Tags. When I click on Find Tags on the right-hand side, it organizes my information by tag. So I see that book that I want to read. And when I click on it, it takes me right to it, and not just takes me to the page. It highlights exactly what it is that has been tagged. And that little check mark box, it works. You can actually use it. So I can make lists, I can tag those lists, and I can go through and check things off. More importantly, when I'm looking for a password, when I'm looking for a phone number, an address, any bit of information, as long as I've tagged it, it's easy for me to find. I'll close my tags, I'll get out of there. I'll go back to home. Now, I really do enjoy the program, but this program is an excellent complement to Microsoft Outlook. In fact, you'll notice that you've got a button for it, a couple. Here, I have a button to make it an Outlook task. So if I have to make a note, I can head to Home, head to Outlook task, and say, yeah, it's due tomorrow. This one, head to my Outlook task and say, yeah, this one's due this week. Another task, this one's due today. And another task, and this one is due tomorrow. But what these are, what it's created, is Outlook tasks. So if I go back to Outlook, I'll have to change my view in Outlook. This is the default view. So I just have to click on my little View tab at the top, and I'll switch mine from a compact view to a preview. And then I'll also roll out my calendar and my tasks. And lo and behold, there's my tasks. So when you add Outlook tasks here in OneNote, it synchronizes with Outlook. So those same tasks are found here. As I finish different things, as I finish different things, what I can do is I can click on my flag, and when I click on the flag, it marks it as complete. You're finished these things. If I go back to, say, OneNote, I take a look, it puts check marks in there for me. So whether I mark the stuff off in Outlook or whether I mark it off my list here, it doesn't matter. And because this can be shared with other people, a lot of us can be working with different task lists, different information, and as we're working away, we can see that things are being done and things are being checked off. So yes, more than one person can open up a notebook at the exact same time and all make notes together. It's kind of the whole idea behind some of this stuff. Also on that Home tab, I can drop in different meeting details. Right now, I don't have any meetings coming up, but if I did, I would see all my meetings listed. As an example, I can go into Outlook, head to the calendar, and I can create a brand new meeting. I can fill out who it's going to. Let's see. Fill out my location, my start times, my end times, all that other stuff, and hit send. So when you have your calendar filled out, when you are using the calendar and putting stuff in here, when I head back to OneNote and I'm trying to plan things, I can head to my meeting details button and see the details of that, well, see the general details of that meeting. More than likely what I would do next is I would create, say, another section, call that section meetings, and it may be more specific. You know, I might have meetings with my boss or meetings with colleagues or project meetings. Either way, there's lots of ways of organizing myself. But I can go to Home, click on Meeting Details, choose the meeting that I'm looking for, and I can even go to a different day if I need to, but this gives me the opportunity to make notes about that particular meeting. If I need to see the meeting, then I've got a link to Outlook that takes me right to that meeting. Rather than me trying to find it in my calendar, which is not the best use of your time, I can get in here, click on the item, and it takes me right to that meeting in my calendar. All the notes are made here, and there's even a feature for attendance, so I can check off the different people that have attended. Definitely not a bad feature. That sits on Home, and I was talking about Outlook tasks. I was also talking about emailing the details or putting the details in a OneNote document. I'll click into the body of OneNote here, and I'll then create a brand new tab. On the brand new tab, I'm going to type in Insert Things. That's because I want to take you to the Insert tab. In the Insert tab, you can do some really neat things. In order for me to show you this very first button, I got to go back to the other section. So I'm going to go to OneNote Tips and Tricks. I'll head to Insert, and I realized that I need to insert something at the top of this page. Now, I wish I had this for Word and a bunch of other programs. This is a real novel idea. But I click on Insert Space, And what I can do is I can actually click, drag, and move stuff down the page. So now I can put whatever it is in there. You know, unless you know, there's some other tricks and things, but most people, what I catch them doing is opening up Word and then hitting their Enter key a million times to move stuff down. A, don't ever do that. That's bad. C, learn how to do it properly. But what I really wish, and it would really clear stuff up for everybody, is if you could just go to Insert, Space, and Word would do that. And it goes the opposite way, too. If you've got too much space, I can just click and move up. I can even click on Insert Space and move stuff over. Seriously, don't you wish you had that for Word? Like, that's amazing. I would use the daylights out of that in Word. So I'm going to move stuff, I'll move it down, just give myself a little bit of room here. And I'll go back to insert things. And then I'll go back to insert. You can insert tables, is what it is. Table is a table is a table. Great for organizing, great for laying stuff out. Speaking of layout, when you insert a table, you get table tools. You get a brand new toolbar. Not only do you get a brand new toolbar, but you can do very interesting things like converting it over to an Excel spreadsheet. When I click that button, it's an Excel spreadsheet. If I need to edit this, I've got an edit button that allows me to edit in full-blown Excel, but when I'm finished, right, I'll just do books, and then I'll do the months beside it. Right. I'll make a half-decent looking spreadsheet. And let's see, Congo. Right. Add in some numbers. Right, make the whole thing a table. Look half decent. And then when I close it, I'll save my changes. Takes a minute to kind of kick in, but it embeds, and now I have a spreadsheet right embedded in the page. Not bad at all. I'll go to Insert, and I can also do things like file printouts and file attachments. For me to really show you how to do this, I'm just going to open up Word just for a second, and I'll use one of the awesome templates that they have. If you haven't seen some of these templates for Word, do yourself a huge favor. Spend 15, 20 minutes. Go through the templates in Word, go through the templates in PowerPoint, and go through the templates in Excel. But I'm just going to do a blank document here. Right. I'll insert a half-decent looking cover page, just so you get the idea, right? And then this will be the document. So I'll save this. I'll hit File. I'll hit Save. I'll save it on my computer, and I'll save it on my desktop just so I can find it easy. But I want to show you the difference between an attachment and a printout. Now, when you have these big containers, sometimes clicking underneath the containers, you run into a bit of an issue where it thinks that you want to make certain things part of that container. When you don't, all you have to do is double-click. When you double-click on the page, it's going to make its own container. So I'm going to go to Insert. And first one that I'll show you, first one I'm going to show you is the one that we're all familiar with, which is a file attachment. So I head to my desktop where I have the Word document, and I drop it in. And I can insert it and attach it as a file. That's fine. But I really, really like being able to insert it as a file printout. When I insert it as a file printout, I choose the file, just like I normally do. I click on Insert, just like I normally do. But then what it does is it actually prints out the document. So not only does it give me a copy of the document, so I get the attachment, but then I also get to see everything that's in the document. So I don't actually have to open it up. It's you know, it's almost like a picture, kind of. I really can't type inside or type over top of it. I can resize it. I can make it bigger. I can make it smaller. But I really don't have real control over the document. If I want real control over the document, I've got to open up the attachment. But at least with PDFs, with documents, any of that stuff, I don't actually have to open it up. I can just kind of look through it. That's a printout. I can also insert spreadsheets, existing spreadsheets if I have them. I also can insert diagrams, existing diagrams, and drop that diagram in there. I have screen clippings that I can use, so I love that. The screen clipping is awesome, and very handy stuff as far as the screen clipping goes. Let me show you how it works, though. This is neat. To show you how it works, I'll go to a website, and I'll go to one that's got some words on it. Oh, and I just happen to have one right here. This is our website. So I can go to OneNote, and I'll say that there's one section that I'm interested in, right, on the page. So I'll go to the bottom of this page, and I'll just move this up a bit. I'll head to Insert. I'll head to Screen Clipping. And what it does is it minimizes OneNote and shows me whatever is sitting in behind. The instructions on how to do this actually sits in the bottom right-hand side. But see, it's just this one section that I want. I can click, drag, make a rectangle, and capture all this information. Now, it's a picture, right? So it's not interactive. It's a picture. But what I love is not only does it take the picture, but if you look at the bottom, it tells you where you got it from and when you did it. How many times when you're putting together a PowerPoint presentation or a document and you go to a million different websites grabbing information from different websites, and then to try and remember which websites? Oh, sure, you could bookmark them, but I don't know if your bookmarks look like my bookmarks. Right? I bookmark stuff with the best intention of going back to the site, the best intention of rearranging and organizing my bookmarks, but I never get around to it. And the other problem is that even when I do get to my bookmarks and start rearranging stuff, the pages have moved. They've gone. I can't tell you how many times I click on different technical websites, and I mean big companies, not small ones, and I click on something, and it tells me that that information is no longer available. It's frustrating. So instead, I take a picture. And yeah, okay, right? It's a picture. What can you do with it? Well, the really neat thing about the picture is that I can click into search, and I can type in a word like, let's say, project. And if you take a look at that picture, you'll notice on that picture, the word project is highlighted every single time, and that's a picture. So yes, it has OCR, optical character recognition. So I can take pictures of whiteboards, I can take pictures of anything that has words, and it's searchable. I can find it on that page. Not bad. Let's go back to insert, though. Still got more stuff. You can insert pictures, online pictures, scanned images. Oh, I probably don't really have to explain any of that stuff. I mean, it pretty much is what it is. But I can insert pictures that I have and online pictures. I really love this. I can record audio and I can record video. And in a sense, it transcribes it. Now, you don't get to see the transcription, but all of your audio recordings, all of your video recordings, they get transcribed. Now, you don't get to see the transcription, but the transcription is searchable. So you can drop in all of your different audio clippings, all your different video clippings, and have them searchable. Not bad. There's a few other really neat things that sit in insert. I can insert date and timestamps. So I can go to insert wherever my cursor is. I can click on a date stamp, or I can click on a date and timestamp. But the other thing that I really like is in insert, you also have these templates. When I click on templates, now before I go into this, in the past, all right, I don't know how long you've used Microsoft products, but in the past, some of their templates, not so good. A lot of the templates were very, very niche, and most of them were directed more towards IT more than anything else. But now, you got some pretty cool templates that sit here. Some academic ones, like lecture notes, science and class notes. So if you want to take lecture notes, all you got to do is click this little template that's here, and you got a good-looking lecture note template. The title, what's for homework, today's topics, most important facts that were covered today. You know, all the different searchable items that you want, all listed here perfectly. There's some stuff for blank, you know, different sizes and things, and the background's blue, the background's yellow, or it's, you know, got a grid or whatever. So those are interesting. But I really like the business ones, like a project overview. Look at this. You don't actually want to type that stuff out, right? You're making notes here. This is not a good copy. This is not something you're handing to your boss or any of your coworkers. Not really. Right? You want to get this into Word, or you want to get this into a PDF or something and polish it up, make it look nice. But look at some of these headings. The way it's laid out, brilliant. Well done. Very, very well done for a project overview. Or a meeting. Right? Next time you're taking meeting notes, look at that. The agenda, the attendees, the different action items. I wouldn't be embarrassed to hand that out at all. And so, yeah, here's our agenda, here's our attendees, and here's all the different action items. That would look good. Looks like I spent some time on it, right? Nice little clock in the background here. There's meeting notes too. Just organized a different way. Informal. Personal. Most important points, my to-dos, different questions. The detailed meeting notes are brilliant, very well done. Again, honestly, I wouldn't be embarrassed to hand this out. Looks like I've spent some time and I've given some creative thought to the layout of this. I like it. My formal meeting notes. And then, of course, just like anything, you got the decorative stuff, right? So if, I don't know, if you like any of this, that's up to you. It's, some of it's a little different, right? A little bit crazy, but that's kind of the idea. You know, they give you, or they at least try and touch upon what everybody's using this thing for. Different planners, right? Simple to-do list. a prioritized list, a project to-do list. Honestly, guys, I would not be embarrassed to hand this out at a meeting, not at all. That just looks brilliant. I'll go back to insert, and in insert, we were playing with page templates. So that's where I got all this stuff. This list was not pre-populated beforehand. So any of your different templates that you use, that you select, they will show up here. So this is the frequently used stuff. You can insert equations, different symbols as well. If you got this thing on a tablet, you can go straight to draw. With draw, you know, you've got different pen tools, so you can circle stuff. That's all in draw. There's a highlighter that works quite well. Then I could change the thickness of the highlighter or the different colors of the highlighter as well. Different shapes that you can insert, like an oval. I'll choose that black pen again. I'll go back to draw and I'll do another oval. Insert spaces here again, which is kind of handy. So I can move stuff down, move stuff up. I love that thing. And I can delete, rearrange, so I can stack different shapes on top of it, and rotate it. If you got a stylus and you've got a tablet, this makes sense. Now I'm using a mouse, so this doesn't make sense to use a mouse. But just pretend, humor me for a minute, and we'll pretend I'm using a stylus, right? And it looks like I got really bad handwriting. Like I said, I'm using a mouse, so go easy on me. So I can spell out my name. I had to draw, and I'll change tools, so I'll go back to my selection tool, my typing tool. And of course that, you know, sits in a container, so I can click and drag and select this whole thing. But then what I can do is I can head to draw, and it's not good enough to ink to text. Let me try just one more time really, really quick. I'll see if I can get this to go. Try one more time. See if I can get it to recognize my poor hand. There we go. But think about it. That's a mouse, so it's not that great. If you got a stylus, it's a lot smoother. It's a lot easier. It looks better. But as you can see, you can just sit there, write notes, and this actually works now. Not bad. Not bad at all. History. If you're going to share this with other people, like a team, a department, in fact, this is how we share a lot of technical information between some of the tech instructors. We've got a SharePoint site, and on the SharePoint site is a shared notebook that we use. And this way we can pass and keep exercise files, printouts of different things, tips and tricks, and kind of keep ourselves organized, right? So sometimes you need some history. I've been away for 2 weeks, so I can take a look at some of the recent edits. And recent edits that have been made within the last couple of days. So I can say, yeah, 14 days, show me what's changed, or 6 months. Right now it's hiding the author, but if I had another user that started to mark this up, when I unhide the author, I'll actually see their name beside stuff. And when people change the page and they add and remove and delete and you don't agree with what they've done to your page, that's what versions is for. With versions, I can take a look at the different page versions and take a look at the version that was made just before I went on holiday. And so, yeah, that's the version we should be using. Something got messed up, something got moved, nobody knows how to get it back, and we can roll it back. No IT, no backup tapes, nothing like that. When you delete things, regardless of where they are in the notebook, you have a recycling bin. So specifically, there is a recycling bin for this program. And the great thing is most people forget about it. So if they have deleted stuff, more than likely, it's probably sitting in the recycling bin. Most people don't empty the recycling bin, and it doesn't empty itself when you close the program. The review tab is pretty typical. I apologize, it's kind of anticlimactic, but you got spell check, thesaurus, typical. And then the view is also kind of typical. There is some neat stuff in here. You got a full page view, I'm sure you've seen with Word and stuff like that. I can change the page's color. Don't change the page's color if you're going to print this. The IT guy will hunt you down. Different ruled lines. So if I do need lines, and then if you have a stylus, you can't write over top of the line. It forces your text to be straight, and it forces your text to be on the line. It's pretty cool. It's neat. I don't believe that button. That button says hide page title, but the great big red X, that should really tell you what that button's true intention is, and that's to delete your page title. See, here I've got a page title. Better yet, I'll use this. No, what do we got? I thought I had one here. 18, 16. Yeah, this will do it. So I'll go to View, right? Hide page title. Are you sure? But it even tells you, look, I'm going to delete it. I'm not hiding it. I'm deleting it. When I say yes, I can always go back to View. I can always click on Hide Page Title and unhide it, but it deletes the page title. So nothing earth-shattering. I just want to point that out. That was under View. Now, as I said, you can make different sections. You can also make different section groups. To make a section group, I right-click on an existing section, and I can create a whole brand new group. So eventually, you're going to create different sections, and this is going to start to fill up real quick. So you need to organize yourself and create a new section group. With the new section group, I can call this one, say, Office 2013. And then I've got tips and tricks for Word and PowerPoint and OneNote. Then I can take this file folder, and I can take the whole file folder and drop it in here. Sorry. There we go. So now in 2013, I have OneNote tips and tricks. There's a green arrow that helps you get back up to the top, but it's gone now. If I want to see that OneNote stuff, I got to click on Office 2013, and there's my OneNote stuff. Here I can create another section, right? Word 2013. I can drag this in, drop it into Office. So the sections, they're like file folders. And then you can create a section group, which is a file folder within a file folder. Not a bad little feature, and a great way to keep yourself organized. But for me to show you the rest of what OneNote does, I got to get out of OneNote. I'll jump inside a browser. There are different times that I hit a web page like this one, and I see something that interests me, and I want this information. Now, if you copy and paste from the web, a lot of times it's kind of a messy thing. You don't always get what you want, and the way it comes in sometimes can be a bit of a pain. But if I want everything on this page, in my web browser, and this only works in Internet Explorer, but in my web browser, I can go to Tools. When I click on Tools, I can click on Send to OneNote. When I click on Send to OneNote, I can decide exactly what OneNote notebook it goes into, and I can also decide what section it goes into. So I say, yeah, it's part of my work notes, and this is going to be part of a meeting that we've got. So I click on Meetings, I click OK. It takes about a minute, and it gathers up the entire website and drops the entire website into OneNote. Now, it's still not pretty, but that's not the point. The point is that you wanted the information. And all the information, all the graphics, all the buttons, everything is dumped onto this page. So this is not for handing out. This is not for good. This is for you gathering information, harvesting that information, and then being able to massage it and change it so that it goes into a PowerPoint presentation. It goes into a Word document. There's an old saying, right tool for the right job. Well, this is the right tool to gather information. To gather information, to kind of sort the whole thing out and figure out, what you need, what you don't need. This is your dumping ground. This is your dumping ground. This is how you're going to vet information. And then if you want it pretty, well, that's what Word is for. If you want it organized, well, that's what Excel is for. So use the right tool for the right job. This is the tool that you use to gather the information. But what if it's only a little bit of information? What if it's just this paragraph that I want? Well, then I highlight that paragraph, and I right-click. When I right-click, I can click on Send to OneNote. I choose Send to OneNote. I decide where it goes. I double-click on the file folder that I want it to go into, or the section that I want it to go into. It takes about a minute, and it drops it in there, and I love the fact that it tells me where I got it from. So when I'm trying to gather up information, when I'm trying to look for stuff, this helps me out. This is great for research. It's also integrated into Outlook. IT is always telling you not to keep so much email in your inbox. But you argue with them and you say, but this is an important email. This is vital stuff. I need this information. Well, email is a dumping ground. Email is the equivalent of an electronic junk drawer. At least that's the way it gets used a lot of times. It's no way to index information. It is no way to store information whatsoever. If you ask the IT guys, they'll tell you, you're putting all your eggs in one basket. If they lose your inbox, you lose everything. So if it's that important to you, you open up that document, or you open up that email, and inside that email, you got a button for OneNote. So if this email is that important to you, get it into OneNote. I can drop it into OneNote, and not only do I get to keep the email, but I also get to write different things about it. I get to circle things, insert different whatever it is that I need in order to keep myself organized. OneNote is integrated into every single Microsoft product. Even if it isn't a Microsoft product, unfortunately, I don't have Chrome installed, so I apologize, but it doesn't have to be a Microsoft product. If you want this web page, if you want this information, then you click on File, and you click on Print. Because guess what? OneNote's also a printer. Now, when you print it, it basically turns it into a picture. And for most programs, that'd be a big deal. But for OneNote, it's no big deal at all. You can still search the picture. It OCRs everything. Here it's bugging me. Where do you want to put this? And I'll say, just drop it in my quick notes. But then what I get is a printout. And that printout is searchable. I can type in a word like announce, and it finds it. Not bad. So if it's not a Microsoft product, if there is no OneNote button, you can always go to File. Sorry, you can always go to File. You can always go to Print. And OneNote is a printer in every single product. Word's got a button for OneNote. You can create a link between a Word document and a bunch of notes. So if you don't want to keep the notes in the Word document, you can keep the notes somewhere else and make notes about that document. On SharePoint, we quite often build notebooks. And those notebooks carry additional details about different documents. We don't want the details in the document. And there's no way to really make a side note in Word, not without other people seeing it, right? We want to keep this internally, but the Word document is going to go out to a client. And we don't want the client seeing that, so we put the notes in a notebook. We share the notebook. Now, at any time that you want to share your notebook, you can always go to File, and you can always share it. From there, it'll walk you through exactly what to do. Now, I am just barely skimming the surface of what this program does. But hopefully, this gives you a bit of an idea of what you can do with the program and what the program does. Any questions whatsoever? How accurate is transcription when you're recording? It's really good. You know, if I'm going to be really tough on it, Daniel, I would have to say that you're looking at about maybe a 1% error. Very, very rarely does it have a hard time transcribing anything that I've done. Obviously, background noise, the quality of the recording, all that has to do with how it's going to recognize a transcript, as well as how heavy the person's accent is. I mean, you know, let's be honest. As long as you have a Canadian, an American, a British accent, as long as the Brit accent isn't too thick, you know, it generally does okay. Outside of those countries, well, even inside some of the countries, you know, you just, different regions have different accents, and you do have to be careful. So the more plain Jane your voice is, according to the program anyways, the more accurate it is, but it's getting there, and it's changing all the time. So I personally don't have any complaints with it. No, as far as history, Excel's a new thing, but the history has always been part of it. I believe in 2010 they called the history versions. So in 2010, I believe it's called a version. Any other questions at all? And you can either use the Q&A if you want, or you can use the chat window. That's completely up to you guys. But please, if you do have questions, please don't hesitate, and I'll try and answer them now before the end of the session. Do me a huge favor though before you leave. commit to using this thing for 2 weeks. I'm telling you, this makes a huge difference in my life as far as storing data and storing information. A lot of time, I store stuff in Word documents or text documents with the best intention of coming back to them, but I don't. I forget about them, I hide them in folders, and I never see them again. And when I do, it's usually after when I really could have used the information. How long would you say it would take to get comfortable using OneNote? You know, Carla, like I said, 2 weeks. Commit 2 weeks to using this thing. And if at the end of the 2 weeks you don't see any benefit in using this, then it may not be a product for you. This is not, you know, every product is not for everybody. And if you take classes with me, you get pretty quick. I'm a real geek, but I'm the first one to say, don't use technology if it makes your life complicated. If it takes longer using technology, don't use it. That doesn't make sense. That doesn't make good business sense. But if you use this thing and at the end of 2 weeks, you can honestly say to yourself that this is not something that you'd use, then it probably isn't. If you don't see any benefit within 2 weeks, it probably doesn't benefit you. For myself, I don't know what I would do without it, honestly. There are so many subjects that I teach. There are so many different things that I learn and that I study. I don't know where I would keep all that stuff. And I can't be walking around with books all the time. You know, like, some of my technical books, they're massive. They're just huge. And, okay, yeah, I've got ebooks as well, but, you know, same thing. I'm not interested in the whole book. The whole book is not completely useful to me a lot of times. And a lot of times I wish I could just take sections from books and make my own book. And that's what OneNote is. OneNote allows me to basically make my own notebook. Oh, as far as you guys, you know what, I don't know what the federal government has on their computers. You have to ask around. It does come with the suite. It is part of the suite. It has been part of the suite since Office 2003. It's been around for over 10 years. So it is free. It does come with the suite. Just a matter of bugging IT maybe and asking them if they can drop that program in your computer. Being the federal government, you may have to make a formal request or things, but you know, always remember with IT that a case of Red Bull, that goes a long way. If you thought today was great, please take a look at our YouTube channel, because we've got even better videos and better stuff that we've uploaded. So if there are different things that you want to take a look at, please don't hesitate. Go to our YouTube channel, check it out. We've got lots of really, really good videos that are there. And hopefully you've enjoyed this session.